Hey, so this is day 3 of our weekly practice video series. And today I want to just deal with 3 things. So first, little practice concept, right? Very obvious, but just a reminder. And then I'm going to kind of remind you of all the exercises that I gave you the last 2 videos, and then finally a little personal comment on Noah, your video practicing scales. So first of all, the practice concept I was thinking of reminding you of first is that every practice session should have a clear goal. It seems obvious, but for some reason many of us who are relatively smart end up just practicing. Let's say sometimes it's just for time, like, okay, I'm gonna do this for 45 minutes, or I'm gonna do this for 5 hours, or I don't know, some time frame, and then we think, oh, I'm just gonna make it as good as I can, right? Which is a pretty good attitude sometimes, right? Sometimes this allows you to have, good composure. You can figure things out, and you just try your best, and then good things end up happening, right? However, when you're trying to learn new things and trying to really change and accomplish things, I think it's even better to have a clear goal in mind. For example, I'll give 2 examples. So first of all, if it could be a very vague, big one. Let's say you're preparing for a big concert, then you will say, hey, by this date, I will have my song, this, let's say completely memorized. I will have performed it 3 times. If you set that as the goal, then you can work backwards and figure out, oh, what should I do this week? What should I do this day? And so then you will end up with a goal every week, and then every day, and every practice session. Another example would be like, right now we're doing the strength training for basic violin posture. A vague goal could be like, oh, I'm going to be obsessed about this for this week. Or you could be like, oh, I'm going to hold the violin, let's say the violin hold, okay? Let's say you got to 20 seconds, okay? You can make a goal. I'm going to try to get to 30 seconds today, okay? And I'm going to try to increase it in 10-second increments, right? So if you start your practice, you could kind of have a goal. I'm going to try to go for 30 seconds of violin hold today. I'm going to try it. If I fail, I'll try it again, and figure out what's wrong. In terms of me trying to achieve the goal for the day. So that's the first idea, or practice attitude, I guess, and that is to always have a goal before you start. Never start the practice unless you're just playing for fun. That's different. But if you're practicing to level up, to skill up, or change something, learn something new, never start without asking yourself and knowing what your goal is for that practice session. So that's the idea. The first idea I wanted to remind you of. Okay, let's go through the basic exercises. So remember, first start with the bow hold, right? Curved thumb at an angle, like this. Okay, like bunny ears. Gonna wrap around, 2 fingers, index finger down, pinky down. Pinky is the balance finger, and then index finger is point of contact. Remember, is between these knuckles, not here, here. Okay, it should be here. All right, and once again, let me just remind you, these other bow holds are not wrong or bad. It's just at this point, I think this has the most number of benefits, and so we're going to go with that route. Okay. So with the bow hold, you will do the bow strengthening exercise, right? You'll do it 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You're going to crawl up. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And you're going to crawl up to the tip. And once again, remember, it's a perfect bow hold, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Crawl down to the middle, and then at the middle, it's actually the bow is better balanced around the middle. Of course, center of gravity is a little lower than the perfect middle point, but right around there, the bow feels less clunky. That's a good place where you could try just holding the bow with your middle fingers like this. Practice what the core of the grip feels like, okay, instead of all the fingers. Okay, and then you can go all the way down. And you could do the core grip here, but even for me, it's a little hard because the pinky is so necessary in keeping the balance of the bow that it strains the middle fingers a lot. Okay, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, that's the bow. And I would at least do that once again, like 3 to 10 times. Large range, I know, but that's the range I recommend. And of course, if you want to be obsessed about this, you know, I'm all for being slightly obsessed about goals. So you definitely do more than if the quality is there. Next, violin hold. Remember, collarbone. My collarbone's here. It's not so obvious, I guess. And then here's the shoulder. I'm going to put the violin right between those two. 30 to 45 degree angle, right? But I'm going to keep my shoulders down, not up, down, and I'm going to hug myself. Okay, and I'm looking straight down the scroll. As you can see, I'm not able to keep it perfectly flat. However, it is quite flat. It is not like this that, you know, sometimes people play. Okay, relatively flat. I think I need to gain muscle, maybe, and maybe I'll have a little shorter neck then. Okay, and then you can hold this. I'll hold it for 30 seconds. I think I've held it for like 5-7 seconds. Okay, it is 49 now, so. And once again, I highly recommend starting this, if you haven't done this much before, with a violin that's smaller and lighter than at least a 3/4. So if you're a tiny person who's watching this, although just, you know, for reference, I would recommend, well, it might be easier even though you're smaller, but if you're an adult, full size is quite straining. So I would recommend starting with a tiny one, maybe a 1/4 size. I went all the way down to a 1/10 in my first video. Okay, so that's over 30 seconds. Right. And as you do this exercise, you know, you will notice that if, you know, some parts get a little, you feel the slight tension, you know, not like really bad tension, but your muscles getting a workout, and then as you get more comfortable, make sure that the violin, okay, doesn't dig into anywhere. Okay, so if you need a slight pad, at any point you can put a sponge here. You can put a sponge or a little handkerchief on your body. You can wrap something and put a rubber band around it. Whatever is needed to protect yourself a little bit is always a good idea. Now, while you protect yourself, it's also important to realize that eventually the violin hold should feel cozy. Okay, like it shouldn't be like you see, you could hold the violin here, this big space, right? The space is actually not good, right? It should be against your body, touching your body on the bottom, the side, and the top. But ideally, I mean, it should be cozy, not completely squeezed. Okay. So that's the second exercise, right? Now we're going to go to the third exercise, which is the plank. I'm not really going to do the whole plank, but remember the plank is pretty simple. You can a million health trainers on YouTube, right? You would go down on the floor on your elbows, right? I don't think you can see it. Yeah, put that on my elbow, and then keeping my body, with my butt up, relatively flat, okay, and holding that position for a minute to 2 minutes, at least. Okay, and then we do the wall exercises, right? You would be working this part, like the lats and maybe the triceps a little bit, right? So you lean against a wall with your body weight. Okay, see how there's a space between my elbow and my body? And you can lean harder if you want more tension. And then you can do the other side. Hold that obviously for minimum 5 to 10 seconds, but you could do minutes for that. And same thing for the back, right? Put the elbows on the surface, lean, and use just the elbows to sustain yourself. Don't collapse on the wall. Okay. We had the neck exercises, right? Push forward, hold it, right? For again, minimum 5-10 seconds. If it's a warm up. But if you want a bit more of a workout, I guess you could do several minutes of that. You could do the side, strengthening the neck this way and then this way, and then I think our last one will be the stretches, right? You're gonna stretch out your forearms, so you're gonna stretch out, forearm, pull it back, turn to the side, pull it back, and turn to the other side, pull it back, and stretch 5 to 10 seconds for each stretch, right? Or more. Well, for the stretches, I don't recommend actually too much longer than that. Okay. And then the bottom, 5 to 10 seconds. This side, 5 to 10 seconds, and this side, 5 seconds, and for both arms. Okay. Now, just a quick comment for this is directly for Noah because he sent me a video. And so for your D major scales, make sure that before you start your scales, okay, you find your position as flat as possible, okay. And obviously, I explained in the first video, it's not a sin to play otherwise at all. Many great players have it, but we're gonna get this. Let's get the setup straight and then break the rules, okay? So find the embrace position and the violin hold position, and then start playing, okay? And that's my first comment in terms of your scale practice. I'm not going to go into details of the scale practice until next week because I especially want you to be slightly almost obsessed with the basic holds of things this week. I know you're playing Zurunderweisen and much more advanced things, but the thing is we agreed to try to build the fundamentals. So please make this your goal in your practice and be a little more obsessed about this for just 1 week. Okay, we already day 3. We only have 4 more days of obsessing solely on this, and then we'll quickly move on to the next step where I'll remind you to do some of these exercises that you prefer, and then go into actual scale practice. Yeah, so that's it. All right, thanks. Bye.